There's a moment in every person's life where they realize they are the common denominator in everything they're experiencing. The heartbreaks, the career patterns, the friendships that keep falling apart. What's the one constant? It's not bad luck. It's not just life being unfair. It's you, and that's not meant to sound like blame. It's meant to sound like power. Because the minute you own that truth, you get your power back. You stop waiting for someone to save you. You stop hoping something outside of you will finally change. You realize, if you're the problem, you can also be the solution. Most people try to change the external world before they ever look within. They try to get someone to love them before they've built a life they love on their own. They chase attention, status, or validation, thinking that once they get it, they'll finally feel whole. But wholeness doesn't work like that. It's not something you find, it's something you build. You build it when you keep promises to yourself. You build it when you stop abandoning your needs to keep others comfortable. You build it every time you choose growth over comfort. And the more whole you become, the less you chase, because you don't feel like anything's missing. Think about how we handle relationships. We want someone who respects us, listens, shows up consistently. But how often do we actually do that for ourselves? We ghost our own goals. We disrespect our own boundaries. We abandon our own self, care the moment someone else demands our attention. And then we wonder why we keep ending up in cycles where we're taken for granted. The truth is, people follow the cues we give them. If you don't treat yourself with high value, neither will they. Focusing on yourself teaches the world how to treat you. You go first. Then everything else follows. You don't change your life by begging others to treat you better. You change it by refusing to accept less, but you only reach that place when your internal standards rise. That doesn't come from reading another quote online. It comes from the quiet moments, when you get up at 6 a.m. to write because you said you would, when you say no to the person who only calls when they need something, when you cook yourself a meal instead of scrolling and snacking through another night. These little things, they build you, they shape your identity, and your identity shapes what you attract. There's a version of you that's waiting to be built, not discovered. We romanticize the idea of finding ourselves, but really, we create ourselves. Every time you focus inward, you're shaping the foundation of that version. You're not waiting to feel ready. You're not hoping someone notices your worth. You're showing up for yourself because you finally realize no one's coming to do it for you. That's not a sad thing, it's empowering, because if no one else is responsible, that means you have full control over your mindset, your effort, your energy, and that's where the transformation begins. When you prioritize inner work, everything starts aligning around you. People feel your shift. Even if you don't say a word, you walk differently, you speak more deliberately, you stop being reactive and start becoming intentional. That shift in energy, it changes how others perceive and respond to you. Suddenly, the people who used to take you for granted fade away. The ones who align with your new standard begin to show up. Opportunities you thought were out of reach begin to knock. Not because the world suddenly became magical, but because you started showing up like someone who deserves more. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean becoming self-absorbed. It means becoming self-aware. You stop operating from autopilot. You notice where you've been self-sabotaging. You take responsibility for the habits and beliefs that keep you stuck. And instead of blaming the world for your circumstances, you ask, what can I do differently today? That question changes everything. It puts you back in the driver's seat. It turns problems into possibilities, and it forces you to grow, whether you feel like it or not. Because growth isn't a mood, it's a decision you make daily. There's a cost to ignoring yourself, and it shows up in ways we don't always notice. It shows up in the anxiety that comes from people pleasing, in the resentment that builds when your needs are always last, in the burnout that creeps in when you're too afraid to say no. Most people don't realize they're slowly abandoning themselves in the name of being liked or accepted. But when you start focusing on your own well-being, you stop bleeding energy in the wrong places. You stop being everything to everyone, and instead, You become everything you were meant to be for you. Everything you're chasing externally is often a mirror of what you've been starving for internally. You want someone to choose you. Have you chosen yourself? You want success. But do you show up like someone who's worthy of it? Focusing on yourself isn't just self. It's self, leadership. It's about deciding you're no longer waiting for the perfect moment. You are the moment. The game changes the moment you believe that. And once you believe it, your actions follow. And when your actions align with your belief, momentum builds. Then the life you wanted becomes the life you're living. You are the starting point, not the relationship, not the dream job, not the approval from someone else. You are the foundation everything else rests on. And if the foundation is cracked, nothing you build will feel stable. That's why you go inward first. You strengthen your core. You become resilient, grounded, and clear on what you want. Then, when life throws chaos your way, you don't fall apart. You rise. And that's when everything you were chasing begins to chase you. Not because you needed it to, but because you finally stopped needing and started becoming. There's this illusion we buy into, that if we just impress people enough, we'll finally feel worthy. So we edit ourselves. We hide our opinions. We wear the mask we think people want to see, hoping it makes us more lovable. But what it really does is dilute our energy. People may be drawn to you, but they're not drawn to you. They're drawn to the performance. And deep down, you know it. You know that if they knew the real you, they might leave. That's where the anxiety comes from. But the truth is, the people meant for you can only find you when you stop hiding. The right people, those who truly value you, don't connect with perfection. They connect with realness, your quirks, your honesty, your vulnerability. That's what creates emotional intimacy. And intimacy is what we're really craving, not approval. But you can't build intimacy when you're playing a role. If you're always focused on being liked, you'll constantly filter your truth. You'll laugh when something isn't funny. You'll agree when something doesn't sit right. You'll say yes when your soul screams no. And in doing so, you'll betray the very connection you're trying to build. We fear rejection so much that we pre-reject ourselves. We water ourselves down before anyone else has the chance to misunderstand us. But that strategy doesn't protect you. It disconnects you. It's exhausting to be on all the time. It drains your energy, confuses your identity, and worst of all, keeps you stuck in relationships where you're loved for a version of you that doesn't even exist. The irony is, people can feel when something's off. They sense the disconnect. And that emotional fog prevents real connection from ever forming. What we think keeps us safe actually keeps us stuck. Focusing on yourself means daring to be authentic, even when it's uncomfortable. It means saying what you really think, even if your voice shakes. It means showing up with your values, not just your charm. It means no longer relying on attention as proof of your worth, because attention isn't the same as love. And performance isn't the same as connection. When you bring your real self to the table, you risk being misunderstood, but you also open the door to being truly seen, and that's what changes everything. That's when you stop auditioning and start attracting. Most people are so busy trying to be chosen, they forget to ask, do I even like what I'm chasing? That's what happens when you're disconnected from yourself. You look to others to tell you who you are. Their validation becomes your compass. And the danger is, if they withdraw it, you collapse. That's not love. That's dependency. But when you focus on yourself, you develop your own internal compass. You know what feels right for you. You stop chasing people and you start choosing relationships, not from desperation, but from discernment. Authenticity doesn't repel the right people. It repels the wrong ones. The ones who only liked your silence, the ones who benefited from your people pleasing, the ones who couldn't handle your boundaries. When you step into your full self, some people will walk away, and that's a blessing, not a loss. Because the ones who stay, they're not staying for what you can do for them. They're staying because they resonate with who you are, and that kind of connection is rare, powerful, and deeply fulfilling. But it can only happen when you're brave enough to be real. There's a quiet confidence that comes from owning your truth, not shouting it, not proving it, just living it. When you stop performing, you reclaim your peace. You walk into rooms without wondering who you need to be. You stop scanning for approval. You stop molding yourself to fit in. You become someone who leads with presence, not performance, and that shift is magnetic. It draws in people who are on your wavelength, not because you chased them, but because you finally stopped chasing. It's tempting to shift in order to feel loved, but that kind of love never lasts, because it was never rooted in truth. You'll constantly be managing perception instead of building connection. You'll be afraid to outgrow the role you created. That fear will keep you small, but when you focus on your growth, you outgrow the need for external validation. You realize love isn't something you earn by being less. It's something you attract by being more you. And that's when things start aligning, because you're no longer living in fear of being too much. We spend so much time trying to make people like us. We forget to like ourselves. But here's the paradox. The moment you stop needing to be liked is the moment people start being drawn to you. Because you radiate something different. Not arrogance, authenticity, not ego, self-respect. That's the energy that commands attention without asking for it. That's the energy that says, I'm not here to impress. I'm here to be, and people respond to that. Not all people, but the right ones do, and they are the only ones who matter. Every time you silence yourself to keep the peace, you create inner conflict. You feel resentful, disconnected, small. You wonder why no one truly sees you, but you're not giving them the chance. Focusing on yourself means learning to be visible, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It means choosing truth over comfort. It means trusting that who you are is enough, even if not everyone agrees. And that trust becomes the anchor. It grounds you in moments of doubt. It reminds you that connection starts with you, and it grows when you're brave enough to stay true to who you are. We live in a world designed to distract you from yourself. Every second, your phone is begging for your attention. Scroll, swipe, compare, repeat. It's a loop that keeps you from being present with your own life. You start living through someone else's highlight reel, forgetting that what you're seeing is not real. It's curated. And the more time you spend consuming, the less time you spend creating. Creating the body you want. Creating the mindset you need. Creating the life that actually belongs to you. But all of that begins when you choose to silence the noise and come home to yourself. The reason most people stay stuck isn't because they lack potential. It's because they lack focus. They say they want to change, but their actions don't match their words. Not because they're lazy, but because they're scattered. One day it's journaling, the next day it's Netflix, then it's stalking someone's page at 1 a.m., hoping for closure that never comes. There's no consistency, no discipline, and without that, growth is just a fantasy. But when you start treating your attention like currency, everything changes. You stop giving it away so easily. You start investing it into things that actually build your future. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming someone you can be proud of when no one's watching. That pride comes from the habits you practice in silence, when no one's clapping for you, when no one sees the early mornings or the hard choices. Those moments define you, not the post you made, not the outfit you wore, not the response you got. But the discipline you built behind closed doors, that's what creates real confidence, not hype, not validation, but knowing you kept showing up even when it would have been easier not to. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you vote for your future self. That version of you, the one who's focused, calm, and confident, doesn't magically appear. It's shaped by the small, seemingly insignificant decisions you make every day. Do you scroll for another hour, or do you read the book that's been collecting dust on your shelf? Do you stay up texting someone who barely gives you energy, or do you go to bed early so you can win the morning? These aren't small decisions, they're direction-setting decisions. They either build you or drain you. And focusing on yourself means choosing the path that builds you, even when it's boring. Growth isn't sexy, it's repetitive. It's waking up early when you don't feel like it. It's saying no when everyone around you says yes. It's journaling your pain instead of projecting it. It's setting boundaries even when your heart still cares. Focusing on yourself isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. But that discomfort, that's where your next level is born. If you can sit with it, without numbing, avoiding, or escaping, you become someone unstoppable, someone who isn't controlled by feelings, but guided by vision. And that's what separates the dreamers from the doers. Your habits are louder than your goals. Anyone can say they want success, healing, or love, but your habits are the proof. What you do daily reflects what you actually believe you deserve. If your actions show self-abandonment, no amount of affirmations will override that message. But when your actions align with self-respect, your self-worth naturally rises. It becomes easier to walk away from what doesn't serve you. You stop needing closure, you create it. You stop seeking motivation, you create momentum, and suddenly life doesn't feel like it's happening to you. It feels like it's responding to you. The mistake most people make is waiting to feel ready before they take action. But readiness is a myth. Confidence doesn't come first, action does. The more you act, the more confident you become. Not because everything goes perfectly, but because you prove to yourself that you can handle it when it doesn't. Focusing on yourself means lowering the volume on your doubts and raising the volume on your discipline. It means choosing forward motion over perfection. You'll stumble, you'll doubt, you'll second guess, but you'll move. And movement is what breaks stagnation. Nothing changes if you don't. Comparison will always steal your focus if you let it. The moment you look at someone else's progress, you start feeling behind. You forget that they've got their own timing, their own journey, their own lessons to learn. And your path, it's not supposed to look like anyone else's. Focusing on yourself is the act of pulling your attention back where it belongs. On your lane, your pace, your process. You don't have to be the fastest. You just have to keep going, because every day you stay in your lane is a day you get closer to becoming unshakable. The way you spend your time is the way you build your life. And if you're constantly investing your energy into things that drain you, don't be surprised when you feel empty. Energy leaks happen when you keep entertaining people who confuse you. When you obsess over outcomes you can't control. When you procrastinate on the habits you know would change everything. The fix isn't external, it's internal. You have to get brutally honest with yourself. What's keeping you distracted? Who are you still trying to impress? Why are you avoiding your own growth? The answers are there. You just have to be willing to face them. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean waiting for motivation. It means doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel. It's being the kind of person who doesn't break promises to themselves. The kind of person who sets a standard and actually lives by it. Not perfectly, but consistently. The life you want is on the other side of a few uncomfortable habits done over and over again. You don't need a new plan every week. You need commitment, repetition, discipline. Because in a world full of noise and chaos, your focus is your freedom, and it's the one thing no one can take from you. We've been conditioned to think that if something isn't happening fast, it's not working. That if the relationship hasn't shown progress in 2 weeks, if the job isn't giving us validation in a month, if the gym hasn't transformed us in 30 days, then something's wrong. So we quit, we pull back. We give up just before the breakthrough, but real growth doesn't work on your schedule. It works on consistency, on showing up long enough for the compound effect to kick in, on trusting the process when nothing external has validated it yet. That's the uncomfortable truth most people run from, the internal work. The mindset shifts, the emotional boundaries, the new standards. That's the part that happens before the external world catches up. It's like planting seeds in a garden and expecting flowers overnight. You don't dig them up the next day just because you don't see anything. You water them, you give them sun, you trust what you planted. But in life, we treat our goals like failed seeds when we don't get instant gratification. And that impatience kills progress, because right before the transformation shows, most people check out. But if you stay patient and persistent, the results always follow. People will look at your life one day and think it happened suddenly. They'll say you were lucky, that you got a break, but they won't see the nights you sat with your pain instead of texting your ex. They won't see the mornings you woke up early to journal, to read, to train your mind. They won't see the moments you wanted to quit, but didn't. The world rewards results, not the process, but you will always know what it took. And that quiet confidence, that's what no one can take from you. You earn it in the silence. Consistency is boring. Let's just say it. It's not Instagrammable. It's not loud. It's waking up and doing the work when nobody is clapping. It's not skipping the hard conversations. It's not ghosting when it's inconvenient. It's choosing growth over comfort, over and over again. That repetition, that's what builds identity. You don't become the best version of yourself through inspiration alone. You become them through habit, through who you are when it's not exciting anymore. That's when you know you're serious. It's easy to set goals when you're motivated. It's harder to follow through when life gets messy. When you're tired, when your emotions are screaming louder than your logic, that's when most people sabotage themselves. They think setbacks mean failure, but setbacks are part of the path. Progress is not a straight line. It's a messy, chaotic, often silent road filled with doubt. If you can stay focused in that space, you become dangerous. Not because everything goes right, but because you won't stop even when everything goes wrong. That's when life starts to move differently around you. There will be times when you feel like you're doing everything right and still nothing's happening. And that's the point where most people go back to old habits. They text the person they swore they were done with. They scroll for hours to escape. They look for quick validation just to feel alive again. But the ones who break through, they pause at that point. They sit in the discomfort instead of running from it. They remind themselves that this is where most people give up, and they keep going. That mindset is what separates growth from regression. Focusing on yourself long enough creates undeniable energy. The kind of energy that doesn't need to announce itself. People just feel it. Your silence becomes powerful. Your presence becomes magnetic, not because you said something clever, but because you are something grounded. That kind of confidence only comes from living in alignment, from knowing you're putting in the work, even if no one sees it yet. That energy builds when you keep your word to yourself, when you're no longer at the mercy of outside timelines, when you decide you are the cause, not the effect. You don't attract better by waiting. You attract better by becoming. You shift your reality by embodying what you say you want. If you want peace, stop entertaining chaos. If you want love, stop betraying yourself to get attention. If you want growth, stop avoiding discipline. The shift happens the moment you realize your actions teach the world how to treat you. The longer you stay in integrity, the less tolerance you have for anything that isn't aligned. That clarity comes from showing up again and again until you're too solid to settle. You'll be misunderstood. People will question why you've changed, why you're not as available, why you stopped chasing. And the answer is simple. You started choosing yourself. When you stop proving your worth and start protecting your energy, not everyone will applaud, but the ones who matter won't need an explanation. And more importantly, you won't need one either. You'll know why you're doing what you're doing. That clarity becomes your compass. You no longer need outside confirmation. You're driven by something deeper, alignment over approval. There is a power that comes from staying the course, even when you're doubted. Even when you doubt yourself, especially then, because you're not just changing your habits. You're rewriting your identity. You're becoming someone who follows through, someone who doesn't fold under pressure, someone who holds the vision long enough for it to become reality, and that person, That's who creates the life others wish for. Not because they're lucky, but because they were willing to be patient, willing to be consistent, willing to focus on the process long before the proof ever showed up.